Welcome back, Shalligators. Today, we're going to talk about bad news in breakups, namely Vanessa Morgan's sudden pregnancy announcement and divorce from her husband of only 7 months. What's this dude's name? Michael Kopech. Exactly. Who? Exactly. He's a little big for his britches. We're going to put his bitch ass in his place because I really don't appreciate men who file from divorce from pregnant women. But maybe there's more to the story. We're going to unpack it. We know some things behind the scenes. And more than that, excuse me, we're going to talk about what to do if you get blindsided by a breakup. How do you recover? How do you figure out what's really going on? And how do you get closure? Or how do you get him back? I've got all the answers as usual. But first, just want to remind you guys to follow me on Instagram. You suggested this topic and voted and weighed in. It's not the Rona. It's allergies. You voted and weighed in, so head over there, Shallon XO. Also, follow me on InfStream. It's our fantastic, sexy new platform where we can talk about some hookup tips and, you know, things that YouTube isn't going to let us talk about. We've got a third base tutorial. We've got, you know, some kissing. We've got some HJ stuff up there, but we're gonna get a little bit spicier later this week. I literally had to wait for my mom to leave town. Like, I can't do a tutorial with like my mother in this house. Like, I'm so sorry. And yeah, also find me on Cameo if you guys want a video shout out. If for some reason it expires, the request expires, do it again because I've been doing them and uploading them and they'll just upload endlessly and the system will glitch out. So please re-request and I'll prioritize it to the top. They know that it's been happening. Cameo knows it's been happening. So they're prioritizing re-requested Cameo requests. So head on over there. I'm Shallon XO. Okay, so Vanessa Morgan. I love the show Riverdale. Well, I used to love the show Riverdale. That show shit the bed. I mean, the first season was good. We wanted like teen drama, love triangles, things like that, not like serial killers and organized crime and just weird cults. Like, I don't know. Am I alone on that? I just wanted it to be Gossip Girl 2.0 or honestly 1.0 as long as KJ Apa stays shirtless. Charles Melton, so hot. That's all I really needed. Is KJ gay? I've heard so many conflicting things. I don't know. Ugh. I hope not. They have enough hot guys on their team. Anthony from Queer Eye, you have him, okay? Give us one hot dude. Because this motherfucker, Michael Kopech, is not falling into my category of hot. Like I said, I don't appreciate dudes who leave pregnant women. I don't appreciate dudes who file for divorce after only 7 months of marriage. We've talked about marriage before and how it's tricky because on one hand, if you are realizing that there's the writing on the wall and like, this is not working, you guys are not aligned, get out, you know, save yourself, life is short. But on the other, I have a really hard time imagining that they've tried everything possible in 7 months. 7 months. So these two got married back in January and they met in like 2018. They finally like met IRL because they were talking over social media before that. Michael is 23. He might be 24 now, but he was 23 when they got married in January. So let's say that he's still 23. They started talking in early 2018. What was he, 21? Maybe even 20? Vanessa is now 28. So she's older, and you guys know I date older dudes. I'm sorry, younger dudes. Never date older dudes. I date younger dudes. And like, this is the problem. There's a lot of great things about dating younger guys, but a big problem is that you might be in a different life arena than them. And we've talked about life arenas where it's not the amount of like years on paper that might separate you guys. It's, are you in the same life arena? And again, on paper, it might look like her and Michael are. They're both professionals. They're both in the public eye. But at 2021, a pro athlete probably isn't thinking about settling down. She, on the other hand, 26, 27, 28, she might be like, okay, you know, like I want a little bit more stability in my life. I'm thinking about having kids. I'm thinking about settling down. And maybe this was a situation of fitting the wrong guy into the right slot or the right guy into the wrong position. It might just have been a matter of somebody wasn't ready. And maybe when she's like, I'm pregnant, he's like, oh, fuck. Like, this just got so real. I was caught up, oh, we're married and there's cake and there's a dress. Yay, who cares? We're like playing house. When you factor in a baby, things get very, very real. And actually, a lot of men who cheat do it when their wives are pregnant. Men are such trash. They're They're such trash. And a lot of you guys floated the theory, hey, maybe this isn't his baby. That's true. I mean, we don't know. Maybe it isn't. I don't know if it was me, if I was him and like my wife cheated on me and was like not playing the victim in public, but we naturally take a jilted pregnant woman's side, right? I would be like, let me just go ahead and correct this myth that's going around. But it's an ungentlemanly thing to do that. But I'm not a gentleman. If someone cheated on me and got knocked up, the whole goddamn world would hear about it. Anyway, for the purposes of this video, though, we're going to assume this is his baby. Because I think it's unlikely that she cheated and got pregnant. But we don't know. But what we do here on this channel is we mine these situations for what we can get out of them, right? And I think more of us have been in the situation where we are blindsided by a breakup than we get married and we cheat and we get pregnant. I mean, some of us have, but I think the vast majority of us fall to the other side. So that's the assumption we're going to operate under. So this guy filed for divorce in Texas on June 19th. So it was a month before Vanessa announced she's pregnant. And a lot of people thought that her pregnancy announcement was a little fishy because this is before we knew he had filed for divorce, because he's not in it and he's not mentioned in her statement. And she says, now like looking back, this is very telling, was debating, I hate it when people start it with I, just grammar. Was debating keeping this part of my life hidden, but I knew people would see pictures eventually with my belly, of my belly. And I wanted you guys to hear it from me. I do want to keep this chapter of my life private, but did want to be the first to share the news. I'm overjoyed to be welcoming a baby boy into the world this January. She didn't mention her husband, and he hasn't commented on it. So it's like, I wanted to keep this private. I wanted you to hear it from me. You know what people say? I wanted you to hear this from me. It's never good news. I wanted you to hear this from me, man. You won the lottery. God. I wanted you to hear this from me, dude. Kevin's been sleeping with your mom. You know, like that's how we couch bad news. So I think her choice of words was very, very telling. This might not have been a great thing for her. This might have been her coming to him with the test, be like, I'm pregnant, and him being like, what the fuck do you mean you're pregnant? This could be the manifestation of a conversation they didn't really have with each other. Do you want kids? Do you want kids now? Definitely not. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years. And maybe she was like, so like 2 months, right? We've talked about this before, how we get in these standoffs with people of like, I know he'll change his mind. And she's like, I know she'll change her mind. And no one actually really does change their mind. Like that is actually pretty rare. Think about the food you hate the most in this world. It doesn't matter who you're dating, how much you love them. Are you suddenly going to start liking cilantro? No, because you can't. It's a genetic issue. Don't even get me started on cilantro. It's literally in my Tinder bio that I hate cilantro. Don't come at me with that. It's a genetic mutation with people with Germanic heritage, as it turns out. So if people won't change their mind on like music they like or don't like, how they like to recreate, clothes that they wear, do you think they're going to be suddenly like, you're right, I now want kids. You're right, I now want to live in a big city. You're right, now I want your mother to live with us. Probably not. And this could be that standoff imploding. But we don't know. And like I said, we've talked about that before. We're going to talk about blind sides. Oh, it's honestly harder. I was thinking about this today. I went to the DMV this morning, so I had a lot of time to think, which is why I wore this shirt. I know you guys just saw it in a video and you're like, I like that color. Don't tell me you like something because I'll wear it nonstop. But it looked good against the blue background of the DMV. It's all about aesthetics. My back. I was thinking like, is it better to get blindsided or is it better to know that it's coming? And one of my best friends recently lost her father, and 10 years ago, she had lost her mother. And her mother's death was very sudden. Nobody saw it coming. Her father, unfortunately, had a very long illness. This is so upsetting. And we were talking about it. And she's like, you know, people ask like, oh, would you rather like have time to say goodbye or have it be sudden? She's like, it's worse when you have time. It's worse. You just, because you're in this constant state of like stop and start grieving. You don't know what you can do to fix something, if anything. It's agonizing, you know, and I believe her. I wasn't going to argue that point. And so it got me to thinking about breakups, you know, and I related it because when we get broken up with, when our heart is broken, it is evocative of death. And we've talked about this also in the last podcast. Check out my podcast, Girl on Top, of like when we lose something, it's a tiny death. And especially that's true if you have experienced death in your life. And, you know, one of my friends and I, like, she's a different friend who's also lost a parent. You know, when we go through a breakup, it's super hard on us because we have grieved for parents before. And so it's like, it takes you back to that sad place. Like our sad place, the floor is way lower than people who haven't experienced things. And I hope you never have to, you know, but the point is, it's these breakups and the things we feel, they don't hurt for no reason. They ping something up and they kick something up inside us that is bigger than the person that we've lost, you know? And so on one hand, we think, oh my God, getting blindsided is awful. But then it's like, well, we've all been in this situation where we fucking saw it coming. We saw it coming. We felt the chill in the air, the coldness in the touch, the little lack of eye contact, you know, the passive aggressive remarks, the taking too long to respond. And it's like you can feel something slip through your fingers like sand and you cannot stop it. You don't know what to do. And you just feel, you start clutching and reaching, and then you feel desperate and you feel crazy because they're probably gaslighting you. You're being crazy. I'm just stressed. I'm just tired. That's why we haven't had sex. And you're like, ah. First of all, the way to correct this, we're doing the new Shell Literature book club, Why Men Love Bitches. Pick it up. You can get in the link right down there. I'm going to be doing some videos, I think more than one video on this, because as I read it, again, I've read it, you know, throughout my life, but as I reread it, I'm like, oh, the lessons. Like, there's just so much to unpack. So, but if you're in that point where you feel someone pulling away, honestly, this book will give you kind of a blueprint of what to do to turn the tide. It will help you so much. But like I said, sometimes it's already happened. Sometimes you wake up one day, hey, you getting ready for the wedding? Like, are we going to our friend's wedding? We're not going. I don't love you anymore. No, I'm not coming over for dinner. This is over. Just like, it feels like you got shot. It feels like you got shot. Oh man. It's like, yeah, there's almost no words for it. It's like death. Because you can't stop. It's not worse than death because nothing's worse than death, but it's more fucked up in some ways because you feel like you can stop it. We don't feel like we have the power to stop death, and then we turn to things like religion and science to explain things. This, we feel like, no, I should be able to save this. I should be able to salvage this. So it's important to understand why this blindside breakup happened. And one thing to understand about blindside breakups is that you might not ever understand. Closure is a myth. I don't know who came up with this term, but it is something that is so elusive and so ridiculous. Listen to me now, ladies. Closure is something you give yourself. If the person who hurt you, who blindsided you, who gaslighted you, who fuckboyed you, was able to express himself in a cognitive, mature, communicative, helpful way, he would not have done these things to begin with. You wouldn't even need closure. There would have been a conversation. There would have been questions and answers. There would have been some sort of sense that any of this made. But if there isn't, then closure is something we give to ourselves. And here is how. We like to think that a blindside is always truly a blindside. Where did this come from? I don't know. I don't know. I truly didn't see this coming. Didn't you? Maybe you didn't see it, but maybe you heard it. Maybe you heard it right in here. Maybe you heard that intuition go, uh-oh. Maybe it wasn't even your intuition saying, girl, there's a problem. Maybe it was a realignment of your life, like a slow shift of a satellite, a flower attuning its face to the path of a sun. Maybe it was, I don't hang out with my friends as much. I don't really have my career goals in line. I eat poorly now. I stay out too late. I shotgun White Claws even though I hate them. Maybe it's things that you were slowly giving up, power that you were blowing out of your hands in service of this relationship. Why? It's that desperation cling. And it might have been so subtle and such micro shifts that you didn't even know it. Or if you did, it was an instantaneous excuse to justify it. Well, of course, I want to see him, so I'm going to go over to his house. Well, he has a car, he can come over to you, right? Well, I mean, no, like that's fine. I don't want to drink tonight, but he does. And I don't want to be like unfun. This is what he wants to do. Okay, but you just chipped away at your own self to keep someone. Why? Is it because you felt him pulling away? Did you see red flags in your heart of hearts? Did some part of you feel this coming? If you did, that's a good thing. It is a painful, horrible, cringy thing to realize, because you know what it is? It's an autopsy. And we talk about emotional autopsies a lot here. Just like a regular, like IRL autopsy, it's nauseating, it's horrifying, it's terrifying, and you don't want to do that. But we do autopsies on human beings to figure out what the fuck happened. How did he die? How can we use this information to not have other people die in the future? Oh, it turns out a bullet to the brain will kill you. Writing that down. When we do an emotional autopsy, we are planning for the future. Is that planning? It's not for. We are planning for the future. We are trying to keep future Shallon, future Mackenzie, future Hannah alive. But we got to cut something open before we can figure out how it died, right? And it's gross. It's awful. But it is also something that can be done very much in private. And doing that autopsy isn't about assigning blame. It's not. And that's how it's going to feel. It's going to feel embarrassing and horrifying. Like, you're going to feel so stupid. You're going to feel like a fool, gullible, gaslighted, desperate. Baby girl, you are none of those things. You're none of those things. You are a person who loved. You're a person who gave yourself to another person and trusted that that gift that you gave them, your time, empathy, your pussy, all of this stuff was going to be valued and cherished and not just like, bye, scattered into the wind. So this is step number one. Do that autopsy. What red flags did you see? And what did you do to push those away? What excuses did you make for that man, for that dynamic, for that situation? What excuses did you make for his excuses? What parts of yourself had you chipped away in order to just feed his, to keep him around? What standard did you deny? What boundaries did you fail to set? Again, it's not about blame. It's not about feeling stupid. It's about predicting the future. Because when we get blindsided, that's the fallout. Because I remember thinking this. I'm like, I did not think this man was capable of doing this to me. But he is. And that tells me I have absolutely no judge of character. So how am I supposed to go forward and meet someone new and trust that not only are they who they say they are they a serial killer? Are they a mime? Who knows? How can I trust that they're going to love me? I thought this guy loved me. Clearly I was wrong. What the fuck am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. And on one hand, we don't want to feel like that. But sometimes we do, because then we get to be the what? The victim. Then here comes our victim narrative. And a victim narrative is useful. It gets you attention. It gets you love. When you feel like love has been taken away from you, if you're the victim, people come to you when they love you, you know? It's harder to feel like the victim, and therefore harder to feel like you're going to bring that triage, that emergency love in when you're like, well, no, I kind of saw this coming, and I, just really took the reins and was a complete desperate loser with this guy. Like, you don't want to say that. You're like, I don't know. Please come over. Oh God. Like you're hurting. And who wants to think that they had a hand in their own pain? But so much of the time we do. And it doesn't mean that we aren't allowed to hurt. And it doesn't mean that we deserve this. No. It just means it means a good thing. It means, you know what? I actually have some power in this situation. Because like I said, when we're blindsided, you know what we feel? Powerless. We feel clueless and powerless and unable utterly to predict or control our future. I said in a video we just did about Demi Lovato getting engaged that I rushed into an engagement. I mean, and not on paper. We were together for 2 years, not on paper. Because I didn't trust that he wasn't going to up and leave me one day, that I wasn't going to get blindsided. And I was like, if I have a ring on my finger, I at least know he's got some skin in the game. He's got $80,000 in this game. It's a huge ring. Like, I know that. But had I done my emotional autopsies with my exes, taken some responsibility for how I got us to this, you know, bad end of my exes, I would have felt more in control. I would have felt smarter, armed with knowledge, and not such like a kite in the wind. Just, I don't know, I think he loves me, but I have no idea. I would have learned. And learning begats growth. But growth is painful. Growing pains. That's why we have that term. Had I done those autopsies, I might not have ended up with a failed marriage. And it sucks. But let's say that you cut this body open and you don't see anything. Sometimes we genuinely are blindsided. One of my friends is going through this. She had a guy, I mean, it wasn't a breakup, but it was painful like a breakup, you know, and our heart doesn't know technicalities. It's like, well, we weren't officially together, so I guess I'm not in pain. Okay. She was talking to this dude. They had like a date or two before quarantine, but they kept in touch, and he was like a perfect gentleman on the first date. What, you know, wasn't like he was fuckboying or whatever. They kept in touch, texting. He was always like, when are you going to be back in Texas? When are you going to be back in Texas? Blah, blah, blah. And finally she's like, I'm actually going to be back next week. She's finally going back. And she's like, so what's your plan this week? You know what this motherfucker says? Oh, I actually just started talking to my ex a few days ago, so it's best we don't meet up. 5 months they've been talking, 5. And she's twisted over this because she's like, what did I do? What did I not see coming? And I read back through the messages, and he was always like, when are you coming? When can I see you? Like, she wasn't driving this train. It's like, oh, I can't wait to see you. And he's like, cool. And I'm like, okay, let's look at this objectively. The data you kept feeding him, your data trajectory has not changed, right? The last few weeks, let's just say we take the last few weeks. His data was, I want to see you, I want to see you, I want to see you. You've been like playing it cool, which you should. She did everything right. Not like, I can't wait to see you. You know, she's like, we'll see, you know, I'll be back soon. Like that would be so fun to get together. Oh, sorry, my microphone's falling. My back is killing me because I've been riding horses and fishing. I am an indoor cat. Okay, I'm not meant for this, honey. This hair, nails, no. I'm like, your data hasn't changed. You haven't changed. Your vibe hasn't changed. Nothing. What kind of person goes from here to here? What kind of person goes from into it to over it literally in 36 hours? A crazy person. I mean, honestly, like a crazy person changes their mind and their trajectory when there is no variable change in the data they're receiving. You know, like, okay. They're not crazy, but they are the closest thing we have to crazy people in our daily life. Children, toddlers, where yesterday it was chicky nuggies and PB&Js. That's all he wanted to eat. Wednesday rolls around, the next day, chicken nuggies and PB&Js. And he's like, I hate this food and I hate you. You're like, okay, you tiny, awful terrorist in pull-ups. Like, that's why kids are like terrorists, because you're like, I don't know. He woke up this morning. He hates me. He hates the dog. He hates chicky nuggies. I don't know what to do. But that's the thing. They grow out of it. It's like their brain hasn't finished forming. They don't make these decisions like with logic and foresight. They're just like, chicky nuggies. Yes, no. And when we encounter an adult like that, we have to almost view them as deranged toddlers, because what other explanation is there? What other explanation is there? Well, there are some, and they're bad. They're real bad. They are psychopathy. He's a psychopath. Sociopathy. They're a sociopath. They're a narcissist. And they're just like, over it. I got you. I don't want you anymore. This was just a game to me. Bye. When we encounter people like this is how ruinous these people are. It's not that they say things like this and they leave us. That's not the crime. What the crime is that we blame ourselves. That toddler with the chicky nuggies, you make that goddamn PB&J with the stupid ass crust cut off. You do it every single day, exactly the same way. Would you blame yourself? He's like, I hate these. You'd be like, no, this weirdo little thing changed his mind. Okay, this isn't about me and my chicky nuggy skills. This isn't about how I interact with this kid. He is on his own sort of Kanye plane of variability. There's nothing I did to precipitate this. I'm just going to roll with it. Now, you can't just be like, I'm breaking up with you, tiny child. You're going to keep feeding it, you know? So you're going to like adapt and modify and feed it whatever it wants now. But an adult, you don't have to do that. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't do that. You should maybe be like, all right, I'm going to roll with this insofar that I can recognize this is a you problem. This isn't a me problem. So goodbye. Make your own goddamn chicky nuggies. Right? But we don't think that. We take it so personally. And that's what my friend was doing. She's like, what did I do? What did I say? What happened? What changed? I'm like, literally nothing on your end. So if he changed, he's the one with the problem. And she's like, I just want to call him out. I want to say something. I'm like, girl, he's not going to tell you the truth. He's not going to tell you the truth. And this is where we come back to closure. If we could get these answers from someone, we wouldn't need them in the first place. But I have cornered fuckboys in the past and been like, tell me. And this was like after the fact, after I didn't care anymore and they tried to come back. I'm like, I legitimately just want to know, why did you ghost me? Why did you dump me out of nowhere? So here are the answers that they gave. Number one, I met someone else and I was too much of a pussy to just say it. That was a big one. I met someone else. I was actually always seeing someone else and she kind of pulled ahead, so I dropped you. Okay. Or I started cheating on you, whatever. I was just over it and I didn't know how to tell you. And I was like, well, why were you over it? Like, let's unpack that. Sometimes it was, I thought you were more into me than I was to you. And I didn't want the pressure. I thought you were going to try to lock me down. Take your 4 inches and go. Okay, thank you. The guy who said that to me, I was like, you honestly could not have been more wrong. No, that was not it at all. Like, okay, but I'm like, had you just had a conversation with me, I would have been like, not looking for something serious right now. I really like where we're at, but I don't appreciate you ghosting me. Anyway. And yeah, sometimes they were just over it. They didn't know how to communicate. They had stuff going on in their life. That's the thing though. I can't even remember what they said necessarily because it was just such a letdown. It was so non-helpful. It didn't unlock this like portal to healing within me. It didn't do anything. When you get to the why, it doesn't matter. With my ex-boyfriend, who I loved so much and who hurt me so bad, I did get to the why. We sat down in therapy. I was like, you tell me why you have done these things. And I felt like I knew. I'm pretty high level with sorting this stuff out. And I wanted him to confirm it. And he did. And I thought I was going to feel this just tidal wave of like, yes, relief. You know what I felt? I honestly felt sadder because it didn't give me that rush. It didn't give me that feeling of healing and stitched back together. And now I know, and now I can move on, or now I can fix it. It was just like, oh, you're still dead. You know, even after that autopsy's performed on someone, it doesn't bring them back. It can help you for the future. It can help the next patient. It doesn't give you back what you've lost. And that's when the real pain begins in some ways, because there's nothing left to like uncover. I feel like I'm going to get like really upset about this right now. What is wrong with me? Is it because my bangs are separating? Am I actually just upset about that? Anyway, it's when you realize it like, oh fuck, like now comes the grief. And it is just grief, girl. It is grief. Whether you're mourning actual death or whether you're mourning the death of your relationship or the loss of a dream or whatever it was, the idea, you're mourning the loss of your future, you know? The loss of what you thought your future was going to be. Your future is not gone anywhere. And whatever it is you thought that person was going to give you in your future, I promise you, like I promise you from a math statistic standpoint, that he is not your only means to get there. Whether it was financial security, a baby, the white picket fence, someone who just sees you and gets you and loves you. First of all, you already have people like that in your life. They're your friends, they're your family, they're the shalligators, they are us. That's not all. He might have been part of that, but that's not all he was. And everything else is replicable. Everyone, every experience, it truly is replicable. So how do you get this guy back? How do you get this dude back? Because we can talk about, oh, mourning and grieving, moving on. I very much know what it's like to be like, I don't want to move on. I just want him back. I just want him back. He wasn't a bad guy. I don't know what happened. I'm willing to give it another chance. I get it. You're just not done till you're done. And it's awful. And then you feel ashamed of yourself that you're not done enough to be done. Here's how you get them back. You ice them the fuck out. I promise you. I promise you that if anything is going to work, this works. I say all the time, people need a big dose of what they think they want. A man must feel the weight of his decisions. You don't want to be with me? Bye. Here's what it feels like. No more late night calls. No more subtweets. I don't like your pictures. I don't follow you on follow. I unfollowed your whole family. You don't want to be in my sphere? This is precisely how it's going to look and feel. Bye. And you can't bluff either, girl. You got to get out there, go on those dates, reignite that booty call, apply to law school, start the Etsy store, get into CrossFit, work on you. Because when you do, you are reigniting your authentic self. And when you do that, you are automatically doing that autopsy. You are automatically looking in the past and being like, I actually didn't like who I was when I was with him. I didn't really want to be doing that on the weekends. I don't want to be doing that in bed. I don't want to be hearing those boring bullshit stories about his stupid construction crew or his family. I just didn't care. I didn't want to hear about it. And then you get back to who you really are. And then when he comes back, because they always come back. They always come back. You can look at him and be like, you thought you were going to be coming back to a broken piece of china, just a bunch of little shards of woman on the ground. But you didn't. You came back to a warm-blooded animal. You came back to an absolute raptor of a human being. And I'm going to claw your eyes out. You're going to come, he's going to come back and you're going to be much more judicious. He's going to expect you to be like, oh my God, thank you. Please take me back. It's going to be like, oh, interesting. Nice to see you. You know, that's it. You want to hang out again? I've got some questions. Actually, you know what? I don't have any questions. I have standards. I have boundaries. Oh, you want to just Netflix and chill? Actually, I don't do that anymore. I do dates. So you want to make a plan and make a reservation? I might be there. If not, be on your way. Suddenly, you flip the script. Suddenly, you have the thing that you didn't have when he walked out. You have power. You have the ability to predict your future. You have parameters. You have rules. You have a plan to avoid this death-like pain again. When we are confident in who we are, when we have a rubric for how we behave and the behavior we allow in our lives, we become death-proof. Emotional breakup death-proof. Not real death-proof, but look at real life. You don't know how to drive. You don't have a plan for how to drive a car. You get on the freeway. You're not very death-proof at all. You're highly trained. You're highly skilled. Chances go down, right? Same thing with how we date. Same thing with friendships. Same thing with family. Same thing all across the board emotionally. If we don't have a plan, if we aren't sure of who we are, sure of where our boundaries are, then we have no boundaries. And then when people come into our lives, they come all the way in. And then when they leave, they take everything else out of it. Because we don't have fences. We don't have walls. We don't have locks. We don't have anything. We're just like, take. Fill me up because I am deficient on my own. I haven't done my work. I haven't done my autopsies. I haven't done any passion projects. My whole identity is you. And then when they leave, your whole identity goes with them. So blindsiding is not irreversible. I have come to realize there are very few irreversible situations. You know, there's no impossible reversal, but it takes you playing it ice fucking cold, ice cold. And honestly, like, I know I keep bringing this up. Why Men Love Bitches is going to give that to you. This isn't like, it's not like an ad for this book. Like, I don't know the author or anything. It's just every time I read this, I feel better. I feel like I have a plan. I feel like, okay, now I know how to interact with the world. Not in like a gamesmanship way, but it's like, no. This book is reminding me where my boundaries are and what my standards are and how I should be acting in a way that is not just authentic, but healthy for myself. And therefore, it's healthier for the people that I'm dealing with. He needs to know he's engaging with a bad bitch, okay? Not just I say it on paper, I'm a bad bitch. I post Nicki Minaj lyrics. I walk it like I talk it. and you want to be in this life, you want to walk it like you can talk it, great. If not, you can walk out of town. I want to know what you guys have to say about Vanessa's divorce. I feel bad for her. Do you think there's more to this? Do you think maybe this isn't his baby? Or do you think he's just a dick who left a pregnant woman high and dry? I think she should marry KJ Appa. Or a Sprouse. Shit, marry Lily Reinhart. She'd make a great mom. Follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO. And like I said, follow me on InStream for some saucy little tutorials and some super intimate confessionals. And we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to do a video on Brooks Leach and Julianne Hough. What to do when you push away a good guy. Mwah!